This is Rob Pauw, and today in Tacx Turbo Talks we're talking to Nathan Haas from Team Katusha Alpecin about the Tour de Suisse. Right, it's Thursday, the 20th of June. We're just before the start of stage 6 of the Tour de Suisse, and on the line, Nathan Haas from Team Katusha Alpecin. Nathan, welcome. Do you have your rain jacket ready for today?
Yeah, I think we've got more than rain jackets ready. We're going to have some gumption to get through a day like this.
Is it really bad today?
The storm last night was pretty impressive. A lot of electrical storms and everything, and I believe that's the weather system we're about to ride back into. So it's drizzling now, but I think it's going to be mayhem.
How is that for a rider like you? Do you have a certain preference for type of weather to ride in, or?
Yeah, I don't think anyone actually likes riding in the wet. I don't think there's some riders that are better at it than others, but I don't think anyone actually likes riding or asks for a wet weather day, because it's just not really enjoyable. But it's part of the sport, We all have to go through it, and everyone gets just as wet.
I think maybe one of the riders who doesn't mind it is maybe a teammate and your leader in this Tour de Suisse, Simon Spilak.
Yeah, like I said though, I don't think anyone actually enjoys that weather. He's just good at it. So it's one of those things that can be in his favor, but at the same time, wet and cold weather can actually create really unpredictable situations in the race. So sometimes you can actually find yourself less able to control the situation just because of that bad weather.
And how does it help for you, maybe having a bit of skills from being used to riding that mountain bike from when you were younger, when you started the sport? Does it help?
I actually don't necessarily think there's much crossover when it comes to the mountain biking and the road cycling in the wet, because if you said to me, how does that cross over on a race like Strada Bianchi, I'd say, it's a massive advantage, because, if it's wet or dry, you actually know how the bike is supposed to feel on the gravel or the mud. And, on a mountain bike, you're really used to it moving underneath you and actually kind of drifting and actually sometimes getting the bike moving before a corner to actually really sort of drift through it. But in the rain, you have that back wheel move or that front wheel move just that little bit, and it's game over. So it's actually, I would actually say, unfortunately, it's two different sports, mountain biking and road biking in the wet.
Well, at least let's hope you stay upright today. How's the Tour de Suisse going for you so far? You had a great stage 2. Good feelings?
Yeah, I was really, really excited about how stage 2 went. The final climb, it was so steep. It was really just like one of those absolute lung busters, and tested everyone's absolute max. And I managed to get over in the group of sort of 20, 25 guys, which was a good feeling. And most of the fast guys in the peloton were actually dropped at that point. So it was, for me, that's the kind of rider that I am when I'm at my best. And, unfortunately, another 35 guys came back after the descent into the headwind, just because, we couldn't really keep the race moving. We didn't have any way to keep it going fast. And, I sort of screwed up my positioning once the bunch got a little bit bigger, and, only managed to sprint to 9th place. But the reality on that day was I was definitely feeling like I was back to my normal best self, and put myself in with a chance of going for a really good result. But then Rick Zabel and I, for the rest of this week, we've actually had really good legs for most of it, but we've just had a little bit of bad luck in the finals. And sometimes cycling plays out like that. You have flow and everything goes well. And other times, it just feels as if the bad luck follows you around. So we're hoping to flick that just by staying and keeping at it.
How has that journey for you been this season so far to getting those good legs? Because I think I've heard you mention in an interview once, for you, good form can suddenly be there and suddenly be away, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would never use the word suddenly. It's just, it's more to the point that, you're in a race and you're thinking like, God, how is this possible? How are these guys doing this? It doesn't seem like it's humanly possible to be going this fast for that long. And you're suffering like a dog. And then the next race you go to, you're climbing and you're thinking like, God, why is everyone breathing so hard? Like, why is everyone suffering? And then you get to the end of the race and people are like, that was so hard. And you sort of think, oh, for me, that was actually not so bad. So it's all so relative. And I think the way pro cycling is going now, where everyone is just so good at training, we have so many coaches that are so good at the science and the numbers of everything. Everyone is at like 97%. And if you're at 97, you're kind of getting dropped. And if you're at 98 or 99%, you're in the race. And it's such a fine margin now where you're either just able to be there within your limits, or it just feels so over your limit, even though that might only be like a 1 or 2% difference in the actual overall power for the day. You can either just stand it or you can't. And unfortunately for myself, I got a bit of a virus and got ill at the start of the year, which really just threw all the momentum I had from that preseason. And then once you start again, when the sort of the mid-season classics are going, everyone's already had a few tours in their legs, and the speed to catch up to it just takes a lot longer when everyone's already going super fast. So it's been a harder season for me to actually get to that point. But for what it's worth, I feel like I'm in really good condition now, and the momentum's moving in a good way.
And where's that momentum going to take you after Switzerland?
I would love to see it take me through a lap around France. That would be pretty cool. I've been looking to get back there for a few years. But cycling is, unless you are one of the absolute greats and one of the leaders on the team, you actually generally don't really know if you're going to the Tour de France until the last minute. So, I'm staying positive and would really like to go. But first of all, I need to get through Tour de Suisse in a good way and hopefully show my good legs in some form in the next couple of days.
So obviously, as you already mentioned, Tour de France, I think there are quite a few stages maybe in there that would suit you as a rider. But first at Tour de Suisse, what are you trying to get out of this for the next 2 days for yourself?
Well, I think all the stages now where I can get a result are gone. Now it's all GC days. They all finish on the top of a hill, top of a mountain. So I think, the best thing that I can do now is just really show myself as a strong kind of, domestique for Simon Spilak. Really be there for those moments that I can be. But, for the situation of the race and controlling it, maybe a sneaky breakaway or two could be pretty cool.
And maybe even another bet, because I've read on your Instagram that you had like a bet for the TT, for the opening TT. Would there be another bet for Saturday? Or?
Yeah, we spoke about it. I said to my director, he didn't think I could go top 20, and I was 19th. And I think the longer time trial probably suits me just a little bit more than the shorter one. So I was saying that, maybe if I could creep into the top 15, I said I'd let him cut my hair anyway he wants if I'm not in the top 15, and I get to cut his hair if I'm in the top 15 anyway I want. But he hasn't agreed to it yet, so we'll see what happens.
It sounds like a better offer than Double or Nothing, but
yeah. Well, that money's safe in the pocket now.
All right, that's awesome. And then quickly we go to, because you're on a tight schedule today, let's go to the Tacx Turbo Talk fan question of the week. I saw you were already getting a bit excited on Twitter about that one, so maybe we can get through a few. Georgia Djordjevic was asking, do you have like a targeted cadence on races, or does it come naturally?
Oh, I think every rider is a bit different. I'm not somebody that looks down at my computer really during the race for anything other than, the main thing that I look on the computer for is actually to see how many kilojoules we've burnt to make sure I'm eating enough. But when it comes to targeted cadence, maybe for time trial specialists, that's more of a thing. But whatever cadence I can actually do at the time is what will float me over the climb. It's just a racing condition. You don't get to control something like cadence.
And it's not something that you guys are in training paying attention to?
I think some people are with particular efforts. Normally if you're a time trialist, there is going to be a cadence that's going to be something that you want to stay on top of. But, cadence is just not really one of the big determining factors, in a race. That's for sure. It's it's something that everybody has a natural physiological barrier with. Some people are spinners, some people are grinders, and that's just going to be something that follows them throughout their whole career. And I've heard of a few riders, like, say, Rowan Dennis, who's tried to actually have a higher cadence because he's been told he grinds too much, but then he becomes world champion using a grinding technique. And after many years of coaches trying to get him to spin more, it hasn't helped make him actually spin faster. He just does his speed at his power, and I think that would be my advice to anyone that looks at cadence, is that actually just find the cadences that work for you and just become stronger.
Yeah. Let's quickly get one more question in for you. Warren Wood was asking on Twitter, you're chosen to design the World Champs course anywhere in the world, where? And what would the route be?
Definitely my hometown of Canberra. We've had so many guys from the World Tour come from our town, like Michael Rogers, Michael Matthews, Matt Heyman, Rory Sutherland, myself, and a lot of guys even earlier than that, and also a lot of World Tour women like Gracie Elvin and Chloe Hosking. It's a city that has this amazing cycling culture, and I think some of the absolute best riding in the world as well. And I would love to see the world's best take on my training roads that I grew up on in Canberra, Australia. So I think, one day, hopefully maybe I can be on some kind of panel or board that tries to advocate world championships to be in my hometown.
Wollongong not close enough? It's getting close.
Yeah, but Wollongong has some pretty cool history in that it used to be the old milk race, like the Combank Classic. And that was one of the kind of first big races in Australia where the World Tour or the Pro Tour or whatever it was actually called then came to Australia and showed everyone in Australia a flavor of what the best was like. It has a lot of history, and it has some pretty cool jam down there and everything. But for me, coming from Canberra, I think the kind of cycling history that we have there is very rich, and the active participation of people in Canberra that actually ride bikes, not just to get to work, but actually at quite a high fitness level, is astounding. And every time I go back to Australia, for the off season, and I go to race one of the Wednesday night crits, the club races, I think it might actually be more possible for me to win the Tour de France yellow jersey than to win one of these crits, because it's just so competitive. And I really just love the attitude. I really love what Canberra cycling breeds, and also it's really not an egotistical environment. It's very much about the racing. It's not about the equipment. It's not about the kind of style of it. It's actually just about pure racing, because people just love the sport of cycling there. And I would really love to see World Championships, maybe after Wollongong, at some point, see if they can finish somewhere in Canberra.
Is that other World Championship, the one that's a bit closer, like at the end of the year, September, is that on your radar as well? Obviously, maybe a strong Aussie team with Bling, Jay.
Yeah, no, I'm for sure going to be there if I have good legs, and we want to win, 100%. It's a race where you have to have a super strong, punchy group of riders, and over 280 Ks. This course, we saw it in Yorkshire this year at the Tour of Yorkshire. And I tell you, this is not going to be something that many guys come to the finish line. It's so technical, it's so hard. And if the weather gods have what they probably have planned in Yorkshire, it's going to be wet, cold, and disgusting. So it's going to be a race where I think a lot of character is what matters.
All right, well, let's go to root for you that you at least be one of the guys who get to the finish line over there, and maybe a good practice today in Switzerland with some... definitely tough climbing and maybe even that horrendous weather. Nathan, thanks heaps for jumping on the Tacx Turbo Talks. We're going to let you off. Good luck today on the stage.
Yeah, thank you, man. Hopefully we get some time to warm up on some trainers beforehand, because we go straight up a climb.
It's going to be a short, fast stage, so good luck with that. People, thank you all for listening to this new episode of the Tacx Turbo Talks. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. This was Rob Howe with Nathan Haas from Team Katusha Alpecin. Stay tuned for a new Tacx Turbo Talks next week.